Hello and welcome to this week's Expert Spotlight. I'm here with Carlisle, and today we're going to be talking about all things social media. So I'm just going to read her amazing bio real quick so you know who she is. Carlisle is a veteran of the startup world and has spent nearly a decade using social media to grow engaged followings that generate massive income on a very tight budget. Today, she spends her time empowering other service providers to effortlessly attract their ideal audience and create consistent income with easy to implement data-based content marketing strategies. So hello, Carlisle, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Honestly, it's my pleasure. I think I kind of was gotten aware of you when we did the business blueprint giveaway with some other badass biz babes, and just kind of loved your profile, your Instagram. It was just so cool and fun. So definitely was intrigued and wanted to learn more. I always like to start these expert spotlight videos and just really get to know the person behind the personal brand. So tell us kind of how you ended up with your current business.
Yeah, so it's kind of a long and winding story, funny enough. I was lucky enough to go to college. I have an undergraduate degree in communication, specifically screenwriting and like journalism and production, because I wanted to be a producer for an episodic comedy series like a 30 Rock or a Parks and Rec. And I got a job doing that right out of college in Tampa, Florida. And I was doing 1-800 commercials, and I was working and helping them produce the commercials. And I got to work really closely with the post-production crew. And specifically, this one woman on the team was handling the social media for all of these different direct-to-consumer brands we were creating commercials for. And I was just so fascinated that she had a reason why she was posting things on social media. Mind you, this is like 2015, so social media marketing was just on the verge. Like, it hadn't exploded quite like it has now. So I was just fascinated, and the production life was not for me. So about 6 months in, I actually quit that job and moved back home to Nashville, where I'm located now. And because of my experience with direct-to-consumer brands, I just started working at a local startup that was really small, and they needed basically someone to handle all of the digital things. I call it this business. So I came in to do that, and that's where my love really grew. So I worked in that position for about 2 years, and then I moved to another really fast growing startup, learned a ton about how to grow an engaged community, moved to a different startup, learned even more, and decided, hey, I think I could teach this to other people, because I noticed in the space, not a lot of people know how to do social media the same way that it's done in a startup setting, which I think is the most impactful way to get it done, right? You take the small amount of resources you have and kind of explode it and make a ton more out of it. And we call it bootstrapping in the industry. So like really bootstrapping it. And it's so easy once you know the process. And so I wanted to teach that to other people so they could do the same for their businesses and their brands. And that's what led me to create Social by Carlisle. I officially founded my LLC in March of this year. So I'm still new, but I'm loving every single minute of it.
Oh, amazing. I love that. I always find whenever I kind of ask people their stories, like some people knew right away that's what they wanted to do, but the majority of people I find like they kind of fall into it in like the best way possible and just kind of learn as they go. And like I feel like life experience is what really teaches us. Like we could learn something in a book all day long, or like read it or think about it or listen to it, but until we are actually like using our life experience and like being hands-on, and that's really where the gold is. So that's so cool. Amazing. So let's see, you were so generous. You said you came up with 4 amazing tips that you could share with our audience of coaches and female entrepreneurs, all how they can create some epic social media stuff. So what's your first tip that you wanted to share?
For sure. So being the social media expert that I am, the question that I get most often is, how do you even build a social media strategy? So I have a very high level, just 4-step process that I generally follow that can be applied to any social media platform, for any niche, if you just take every step and make it work for you. And so the first tip is that you're going to want to analyze your data, right? So just
Mhm.
take everything you know about your audience and your business and really dive into it. There are two parts to this. I recommend looking into number one, your market research. So, what do you know about your ideal client or your ideal customer? What questions have they asked you? What are they talking about generally in your space? Take
Mhm.
all of that information and consolidate it so you can kind of look at it and say, okay, I know what my ideal audience member wants. And then you take your insights. So you look at your social data that you can find in Instagram Insights or like Facebook Creator Studio. And you see if you can spot any trends. Do you have any content that performs really well? Do you have any other types of content that don't perform really well? So you
Mhm.
take those two diverse pieces of info, you consolidate them, and then you analyze it so you kind of have an understanding of what your audience wants and how you can serve them that content via social media. And that is the first step of any good social media strategy.
Amazing. Okay, so really honing in on who your ideal client is, analyzing your, your insights on the back end of Instagram or Facebook, really understanding what's performing really well, and how you can kind of amplify that.
Exactly. Yes, that's it.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. I'm so like, I used to be so not against, but I used to be so feminine and not wanting to like look at like the back end of things and just be like, oh, I'll just post whatever feels good. But I really have gotten recently into just like super like nerding out on the data because it's so valuable. And if you're going to put all your time and energy into putting something out there, you want it to perform well. So I love that tip. What's the second part of your successful social media strategy?
So I like to call myself a social scientist, and my social media strategy kind of reflects that. My second tip is to hypothesize.
Mm.
So, based on all of the insights you just looked at and the market research you consolidated, what can you hypothesize content wise that your audience is going to enjoy? Are there any topics you think would be interesting to them? Are there any kinds of content you want to include, like maybe some new Reels videos on Instagram, or you want to go live on Facebook? I
Mhm.
like to take this time to get really, really creative and
Okay.
think about how you can connect with your audience and continue to serve them that high performing content, but maybe in a way that you haven't tried before. And that is my second step to any good social media strategy, is getting creative and really, in the first step, we did lean into that masculine, but the second step
Mm.
is more about the feminine, and that's leaning into your gut, into the creativity, and really taking all of that deep understanding you have and then flexing your personal knowledge and your expertise and showing your genius and making that reflect in the content you're sharing.
Amazing. Okay, so hypothesize and get creative. I love it. I love it. So, what would be the third tip in your social media strategy?
So, step number three is going to be experiment. So, this is where you're actually sharing the content. This
Mm.
can be broken down into, if you're going to do a post on Instagram, what does the visual look like? What's the caption that's related to it? And making sure that you're building your posts and creating them in a way that's maximizing or optimizing the sharing of that post with the algorithm. So, basically, that's just a fancy way of saying making sure when you're sharing it, it's actually going to have impact.
Mm.
Getting really, really nitty gritty. This is like hashtag research and all those things that may not be as fun for us, but can really help grow our business if we spend just a couple of extra minutes doing them. So that would be step number three of any good social media strategy.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so really it's about testing it out and seeing what performs well and what doesn't perform well. And I know, I'm sure a lot of like my audience is a lot of like the newer, business owners or coaches. I'm sure they would ask me like, Michaela, like how long should I be testing? Like what's a good amount of time to kind of throw things out there and then see what resonates and see what sticks? Are you saying like a week, a month? Like what would you recommend?
That's a really great question. So, when it comes to just seeing what kind of content resonates, I think you can get a pretty good reading in about 30 days.
Okay.
But if you're trying out like a campaign or a strategy, or you really want to do like a long term test to see if you tell a certain story, if it resonates with your audience, I would say 60 days. But anything more than that can kind of get wishy washy. So, start with 30. If you're feeling really frisky, go with the 60.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So bonus points if you want to test it out for 60 days. But I think, yeah, 30 days sounds like a decent amount of time to see, what's performing well, what people are resonating with. I love that. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Okay, cool. And then that brings us to our fourth step for a successful social media strategy. What do you have for us, Carlisle?
Of course. So step number 4, as you can see, there's kind of a pattern. The first step was really masculine. Second was feminine. Third, we went back to masculine. And now we're at the fourth step of any good social media strategy, which is interact. So this is what we're going to do, the fun community building things, the nurturing things. We're actually going to use social platforms like they were intended to be used. We're going to talk to our audience via comments or messages and interact with their content, show them love, share content that we really like, and get down to like the authenticity and vulnerability that is deeply needed when you're building a business and a space on social. So step 4 is all about getting back to our roots, interacting with our community, and making sure everyone feels seen and heard.
Beautiful. Okay, totally true. I mean, it always comes down to relationships. And I hear so many new coaches are saying, I put stuff out and I hear crickets. And I'm like, well, how often are you actually going out and, putting out into the world what you want to receive back, right? So important. How, like for someone that was just starting out, how much time do you think they should allocate per day to be setting aside for, engaging with their community?
Another great question. So being the social scientist that I am, I like to fall back on just Instagram's data. And Instagram says that the average person spends about 30 minutes to an hour on Instagram every single day. So what does that say to me? You should probably be spending about 30 minutes to an hour interacting with your audience on Instagram every single day. And I actually have like an Instagram daily engagement checklist that I call my Instagram Power Hour. And I will just set a timer on my phone for 1 hour. I'll go through my checklist. I'll make sure I'm engaging with everybody. And then I move right on with my day. So I can say, hey, I did that and it's done, but I'm not doing any more time because I don't want to fall into an engagement hole, which can be something a lot of people do when they're starting on Instagram.
Totally.
That's why I like the timer to kind of keep me from going over.
Yes. Okay. I love that. And if you're willing to share it, I'd love to put that checklist if you are still sharing it with your audience, or anything that you, all the links for anything for Social by Carlisle when this video is published will be below this video. So you can just click on those links to take the next step. But amazing. Okay. And then I know that, we weren't going to talk about this too much, but remind me of the name of your course. I know it's going to be coming out like a paid version soon.
Yes, Insights to Investments.
Insights to Investments. Okay, cool. And is that similar to the free one that you currently have, or is that something different?
So my free course is a mini course, and it's basically how to monetize your Instagram highlights.
Okay.
I call it magnetically engaging your audience through Instagram highlights.
Yes. Okay.
And then Insights to Investments is my course. It's going to be launching on November 24th. I'm super excited about it. And what I'm going to do is teach you how to go from overwhelmed when it comes to Instagram insights and basically everything we've been talking about, to creating high converting content using the information you analyze from Instagram insights. It's going to help you create like a personalized strategy that works only for you. So it's not a one and done kind of thing, but it's a system that you can implement into your business.
Oh, I love that. Because yeah, it can be kind of intimidating when you're at your back end of your Instagram and you're like, okay, I see all these metrics, but like, what do they actually mean? And I love that you said that you're taking it like a step further and really offering a personalized solution for each person's brand. I think that's beautiful. I just have to say, I told you before we came on, but the free course that you have currently for, for about the Instagram highlights, I just have to say, like, I totally was nerding out on the course last night. I was like on my phone, like taking notes, like going between the videos, and like I just got so much value from it. So if it's okay with Carlisle, we'll definitely link that below as well, because it was just super valuable. I mean, she could charge like $200 or $300 for it, and like it would be worth it. So get it before she changes her mind, and you have to pay for it. But I was super valuable, so just kind of wanted to throw that out there as well. Anything else that you want to say or talk about before we kind of wrap up?
This was just so great. It was so lovely to talk to you and be able to share my expertise. I always love to nerd out on a good social strategy, and I'll take any opportunity to do it. So, thanks so much for reaching out to me and inviting me to have a chat with you.
Oh, my pleasure. It's so fun to just in this COVID time to really connect personally with other boss babes and just see people face to face, even if it is over Zoom. So the pleasure is totally mine. I know we kind of talked about different ways to kind of take the next step, but what would be the way that you would recommend if people wanted to learn more about you? Where would you send them?
Yeah, if people want to learn more about with me or connect or just kind of chat via DM, reach out to me on Instagram. My
Okay.
at is Social by Carlisle. My name is very complicated, I know, but it's just the word social, the word by, and then Carlisle, Carlisle. And I do have my free mini course, the Profitable Profile Framework, which is all about, magnetically engaging your audience through Instagram highlights that you can snag through the link in my bio on my Instagram. So there's some value for you there as well.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So definitely check her out on Instagram. She is amazing over there, always giving tons of value. Definitely check out her course. And like I said, all the links will be below this video. Thank you again so much, Carlisle, for spending some valuable time of yours with us. Thank you to all the listeners. And with that, I will see you next time.